modern typology battle, the fight of the centuries between OPS, talking with famous people, CF Joseph. So yeah, so OPS, it's a very Anglo, it's a very Anglo system, you know. Objectives like it's pretty Anglo. It's pretty much empirical. Yeah, an Anglo type of worldview. Say the Anglophone world, you know, the England, same from England that is now in America, and now all over the world because you know, the Anglo have dominated the world. But yeah, objective is very a word. I will talk about that later on. I do think it's a good word, you know, in the sense that I mean I know Dave and Shan perspective about it. You know, I know that them it's more that people are self-assessing their personality rather than you know really be objective about it. So it's more the kind of mindset that they have about it. But I think that originally, and I think just the word objective is really an Anglo from the Anglo tradition, and I think that it's not really optimal. I don't think it's optimal. I mean, they can do whatever. Just my own criticism about the word objective. I do get the word objective. I do think it's a good word in some capacity, but you know, I still have my criticism, and you know, my lecture today mostly to criticize and you know offer my theories. But yeah, OPS, I think just they're the first theory that were about the double-blind test, and just that alone makes them the people that actually have the right philosophy about it. It's really like, okay, the how can we actually arrive at something, you know, objective, or you know, kind of know what is you know is actually happening in the personality, what is not actually happening. No, double-blind test. I think it's more. I think it's really messy. So I think that like objective personality is messy how it decide to operate, but I think it was the way actually to go about it. And after I think just with the data and the saviors demons. So me, what is actually surprising about OPS in the saviors and demons. So like I'm not sure how like the double blind test. It makes sense for me how they came to that conclusion that they have to do a double blind test. You know, to be about really the data, to build a database, to really be sure. Okay, this type is that. This type is that. I think it makes sense. The thing that make the less sense in the OPS is actually saviors demons. Like, how do they figure out that it was about the saviors and the demons? I think that I mean the previous typology were not about that. They were more about the position order, and yes, some position are you know more demonized and some are less demonized. But I think that's really actually like what makes OPS different is really the saviors and demons. It's not the double blind test that they claim that it's actually because of that. I think it's really more about the saviors and demons. And you know the visual typing. I think that they were very aware of the visual typing before a lot of people. So I think that for some reason they knew that types were connected with the visual typing, and maybe it was just over time with the data and the double blind test. But I think that it's really surprising OPS that the saviors and demons they came to really narrow that down. I think that saviors and demons is kind of genius how they came to be about that. And yeah, I think that you know to be about the visual typing, maybe it was over time, but I also think that it was a very big move. So I think that OPS for some reason really nailed everything down actually. What I went too fast. But yeah, still talking with famous people. C.S. Joseph, they have really great thing about them. Talking about that. No, I mean talking with famous people. No matters of attention. I think it's really the best definition of the thing. What is actually happening? Matters of attention. I think that the saviors and demons or the function are really matters of attention. It's really what it direct your attention, the lens, and yeah, I think that is really how it actually works. It's not you know the skills and all that. That's kind of the error of talking with famous people. Is that he talk about matters of attention, and is really good with that I think. But he thinks that after he tracks like skills within type, like how we type people, the skills within type. but you talk about matters of attention. I think it's more his error that he think that matters of attention directly correlated to skills, but that's really fundamentally an error, because there's a lot of variation that can make a person less skilled than another, or like it's like, okay, this person, I don't know, they didn't get a lot of education when they were a kid, or I don't know, malnutrition, or like it's like what makes you judge also the skills of a person. It's like okay, they might be that type, but their skills are still different even if they are the same type as another person. It's like it's very nuanced. So I think that, you know, saying that matters of attention equals skills, like it just didn't work, and I think that's why he has a hard time typing. I think this his idea of a mechanic map, and I really like that he did really describe a lot of the processes. But even if it's true, and even if it's the mechanic map is right, it's like okay, maybe like the like the process in the middle is right, but it's like the beginning process and the end process isn't like nailed down. So I think that because of that, you know, you cannot really type. It's more a theoretical system that makes sense, and it's more in the German tradition. So not about Anglo and German tradition, but I do think that, you know, there's social worldview, and I think that we do carry the social worldview, even if you are not aware of it or not. No, maybe it's just our social circle, or our genetic. But yeah, I do think that talking famous people is more from the German tradition. That even his word is like Strauss. So yeah, German tradition. I think OPS is more an Anglo tradition. CF Joseph also an Anglo tradition, CF Joseph, but a lot more Celtic. I would say that no, he's very NF in a sense. Like all his theories are very NF. Like the octagram, good tempo, vis and vice and virtues. You know, it's very no, it's really about, like, he tried to kind of integrate faith with it. Like it's a very NF Celtic tradition to do that. Foresight of the mind, that he can, like Linda Barons and all those person. Like CF Joseph really took a lot of TE, a lot of TE, NE from a lot of theories, a lot of thoughts. That's a little bit what I'm doing there in this stream, and kind of, bridge them all together, kind of make his own theory about it. CF Joseph actually type people, most of the time he type people actually pretty good. Like I do see that he actually type people some right and in line with OPS. So I mean, OPS, if they are mostly right, and I do think that they're pretty much right, I think that CF Joseph actually type people sort of right. He is very weird though in some type. So in some type he is very weird, but outside of that he's actually pretty good. It's just that his theory are kind of not so true that I found. Like he connect the four turning, like the generations, with the octagram. Like the verse and virtues are, like, to me they don't make so much sense sometimes. I think that the saviors and demons, like they actually are better at knowing the kind of verse or virtue within types. I think that it's a lot more. He put too much definition in my sense in the vice and virtues, and it's not actually the right vice and virtues. I think that CF Joseph kind of like, it's more his experiences, and it's kind of mad at certain times, so he just put that in the vice and virtues, and they end up not being right. And the foresight of the mind, if you know the math, like Socionic, like I talk about Socionic, like I think if you know the math of the foresight, if you actually know the math of the types, you don't need so much the foresight of the mind, but I will explain that later. But some of his takes about the foresight of the mind are actually pretty good, I find. So, and the good tempo, good tempo, I do see how it can fit into some patterns. I will talk about that also later in my table of patterns. But I do think, it's a little bit too complicated. It's not really used to typing. I think it's more a theoretical thing, and it's good, but I think it can be much better. But yeah, modern typology battle, it's not so much a battle anymore. think that people are too much in their box now, too much into their community. So, but I think it's also what gives movement to typology. And like 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, it was more that people were still not sure what theory was the best. And I think that's why it catch more momentum, the typology, and just carrying stuff and all that. I think since then, really the typology space in YouTube has really died off. I think it's mostly also because people have just went to their community even more and they don't really care about the other community. But before there were some debates and all that, and I really like that, comparing all of them.